13 years ago, I sent a single message that set off a years-long internet war that culminated in a content creator I followed getting banned. I will not name the platform of the community this happened in, but what you need to know is that though I did not realize this at the time, it was my first experience with social media and parasocial relationships. This platform was not the best managed, and there was no algorithm and a little way to gain popularity for those who were not already popular. There was a creator on the platform who, for the sake of anonymity, I will call 5. He understood the plights of being unpopular, and your hard work getting no engagement. There was another creator, who I will call 7, who was much more famous, and was using his popularity to help less popular creators. So I informed 5 about 7, and what followed was my first experience with online flame wars. 5 handled the situation very badly. He was so easily angered and was behaving like a man-child. 7 then had every opportunity to de-escalate the situation, but instead he did the opposite. Even after the flame war stopped, when they seemingly reached an understanding, 7 actively started it up again in a completely different situation. That did not involve him at all. What really struck me about this was how mindlessly 7's fans attacked 5 with angry comments and downvotes. No rhyme or reason, they just attacked him no matter what he said. Unless it was an apology to 7 for his actions. But then, 7 restarted the flame war again when there was even less reason to do so. This time his fans got 5 banned when he responded. The platform was poorly managed, so there was little recourse, and he kept getting his content removed by 7's fans reporting it. Throughout the events, 7 saw what his fans were doing and did next to nothing to stop them from harassing 5, nor tone down the heat of the flame war. And as a result, they went off the rails and got 5 banned. Whether or not this was justified is anyone's guess. But the escalation eventually resulted in a complete content ban for 5's entire profile. Just how fanatical and completely illogical 7's fans were has stayed with me to this day. They just supported anything 7 said and aggressively attacked anyone who disagreed. No middle ground and no trying to reason with them. Indeed, since the conflict technically started with me, I attempted to be reasonable and calm people down, but instead 7's fans harassed me and reported some of my content. Another lesson I did not realize at the time from this experience was the power wielded by influencers. Simply by being popular and known, they had the ability to put tons of eyes on anything they wanted and speak favorably or unfavorably about it, and depending on the size of their fan base, could send tons of support or tons of hate towards anything or anyone. As we've seen, it's disturbingly easy to fool people just by claiming something no matter how easily disprovable it is. In the words of H-Bomber Guy, specifically in his plagiarism video, that's my citation, H-Bomb, please don't annihilate me. Even if it's easily disproven, who's disproving it? No one fact-checks everything they read or hear on social media. In fact, most of us just read the headlines of articles rather than reading the articles themselves. And this is not the only instance of an influencer inciting a flame war or hate campaign that I've been privy to. Sometimes it's unintentional. Sometimes the influencer never even hears about the creator their fans are attacking in their name. A lot of the time, though, it is intentional, especially when it comes to trolls. So, what does any of this have to do with J.K. Rowling? Better question, what doesn't it have to do with her? She has actively spread misinformation about the trans community. She claims that allowing trans women into women's spaces is a danger to cisgender women, even though that's factually incorrect. She claims getting easier access to gender-affirming care will lead to lots of transition regret, even though there is statistically no evidence for this. In fact, the evidence we do have says the opposite. She talks about how trans people are trying to deny the existence of biological sex, even though next to none of us are as far as I'm aware. In fact, sex is far more complicated than you would think. It's a common anti-trans tactic to claim that our existence is unscientific or anti-biology, that it's all just made up, when in fact, actual scientific study has supported the existence of gender identity as a separate aspect from sex. Indeed, it's determined by brain chemistry. She wrote a deeply flawed and factually inaccurate essay. She also actively supports conversion therapy for trans people. Conversion therapy, if you are not aware, has been described as psychological torture by those who have lived through it. And I say lived through it because a lot of people have died in it. It offers no benefits, and even if you take JK's quote-unquote concerns at face value, there is no reason not to ban psychological torture. And that's before she claimed that gay and trans people in Germany were not targeted during the Holocaust, which is not true if you check your facts. And that's without considering the time she harassed Iman Khalif, or the most recent instance of her bigotry when she mocked the asexual community claiming we aren't really oppressed. Which is, again, not true if you check your facts. The problem is that her devout fans, or even just casual fans who are uninformed, simply believe her without checking. Information about trans people is already not well known. So it's even easier for JK to claim things that are based on nothing but fear-mongering, and for people to believe them without question. Again, almost no one double-checks what they read. Heck, I might have fallen for her claims if I actually used Twitter at the time she was making them. So is the solution just to unfollow her? Well, no. Because of the algorithms that run these platforms like Twitter and YouTube, engagement matters the most. Platform owners want to keep you using them for as long as possible. So when you interact with something, the algorithm recommends more things like it. When something gets a lot of engagement, it gets promoted by the platform more. When J.K. Rowling claims something blatantly ridiculous, it can even make the mainstream news and be taken seriously. The real problem when it comes to Harry Potter is that any engagement with Harry Potter or anything related to it will boost J.K. Rowling by association. When Harry Potter trends, she trends along with it. Posting about Harry Potter, making a video about the books or the movies, or streaming the Wizard game boosts J.K. Rowling's influence. And before you mention buying her merch or her books or games based on them or anything really, she infamously said this. She views financial support of her work as support of her views. And don't even try to argue that that isn't true, because remember, facts don't matter here. What JK says, her fans and the uninformed believe without question. You buy Wizard Game, you watch the upcoming streaming series adaptation, you are supporting her transphobic views in her eyes, and her supporters' eyes, and in the eyes of the general public. The fact that she's already a billionaire does not matter here. And before you tell me no ethical consumption under capitalism, so why bother with this, that still isn't a valid argument. You need food, water, amongst other things, not just to live, but to function in everyday modern society. And not buying a new phone whenever you can isn't necessarily going to stop them from being made anyway. The same is not true for Wizard Game, or any of her merch or books or movies. And no, you aren't supporting the developers by buying Wizard Game. They already got paid. That's how it works. Because of all this, I'm putting my foot down here. As a trans person and as an ace person. If I see anyone on the platform posting or talking positively or casually like nothing is wrong, I cut them from my subscription feed and probably never follow their content again. If that still isn't enough for you, I do have one more reason. This video was largely born from an exchange I had with cisgender asexual YouTuber Patrick from Fluently Aspec on this video here. In said video, he said something that to me is extremely important. That despite not being trans himself, he knows trans people who say they do not trust people with Harry Potter merch or with their Hogwarts house in their bio. Symbols have the meaning we assign to them, and quite a few bigots have actively used them to signal their support of JK's views. See this video by Jesse Gender for more details. The point I'm getting at here is that cis people have no right to tell us how we should feel. We don't owe you anything. And if we find your actions off-putting, even if you're just playing a video game or watching a streaming series, then we have every right to cut you off. You may not understand why we feel a certain way, and we might not be able to convince you or fully explain why we feel the way we do. Not every trans person or every ace person is good at explaining things. But we shouldn't have to explain ourselves or justify our feelings to you. Like it or not, your actions have consequences, especially in our modern world. And we have many struggles that you don't understand and may never understand. But when a trans person tells you that something you did or someone you supported hurts us, please consider listening to us. Because especially, right now, we need people to listen. And if you're interested in learning more, I've got some resources on screen where you can learn more about us and the state of our community. It's a lot worse than you think. I'm Kylan Mythos, and I will see you all next time.